Welcome, fellow fan stands, to the Week 5 finals. Here we have Fastbond Ramp by Tim. You play ramp, you play draw spells, and eventually you win the game by overwhelming your opponent with advantage. And then we have Selesnya Prison by Andrew. You just delay the game and then eventually lock it up with a good old Solemnity Phyrexian Unlife. Here's game 1. Alright, in game 1 we have Tim on the left playing his ramp, and we have Andrew on the right with Selesnya Prison. Both kept 7s, and Andrew is going to lead us off with a Mox Sapphire, Black Lotus, and straight into Karn. And we'll decide whether we're upticking or downticking Karn. Downticking Karn, and going to grab an artifact out of our sideboard, and that will be Winter Orb. So, advancing our mana and then locking fast mana from the opponent. And right there, that Soul Ring by Tim is shut off because of the early Karn. Oh, and great follow-up by Andrew, being able to play Ancestral. They kept a risky hand that only had one mana source to keep them going, but being able to Ancestral to hopefully draw into more lands. It's really nice. Now, one way that Tim can get out of this and actually catapult their own mana is through Fastbond, but Andrew, thinking one step ahead, has grabbed that Winter Orb. It's going to stop any huge mana ramp by Tim, either through artifacts or by your classic access to lands. But we have a Demonic Tutor from Tim. Let's see what he could find. We probably want some way to get rid of Karn here, though I don't believe Tim has very many ways to interact with planeswalkers. But something like a Fastbond could get the rest of the lands out of Tim's hand, and then following that up with a wheel of some kind would be very helpful. Oh, but yeah, it looks like there's a Black Lotus in Tim's hand. Not doing very much with a Karn out. And here we go, we have that Winter Orb, continuing the slowing down of the opponent's game plan. Looks like Andrew has a Sterling Grove in hand, but currently no way to cast any of the spells. Just looking for more mana sources to be able to lock this up with the two sides of the combo. More mana, we're going to animate Winter Orb with Karn. Start getting the beats in. Looks like we have a response from Tim. It's going to Ancestral. We're going to choose not to cast Mental Misstep here. Andrew, no. Take 2. Now, notably, Winter Orb is templated such that if it's tapped, its effect actually doesn't happen. So with this tapped Winter Orb, Tim and Andrew can both untap all of their lands so long as it remains tapped. Third land from Tim. That Gemstone Mine getting fairly low. But now we have a Teferi in play. We can't bounce Planeswalkers. One of the few things. Teferi can do a lot, but he can't do it all. It's possible that this is what Tim tutored for, thinking that it could bounce a Planeswalker. So now things are going to be a little tougher. Gonna uptick onto Fairy. And it looks like we might have too many cards in hand. So we'll just end up playing a Black Lotus out. And ship the turn. Pop in the Lotus. With Karn. Chipping away at Teferi. And going for a Time Walk, taking an extra turn. Alright, Phyrexian Unlife. We have Sterling Grove in hand as well. So we just need another green or white source. We can tutor out the other half of the combo, and then we essentially have the lock. Though Teferi being able to bounce does leave windows open for where Tim can draw out of it. But as for right now, we're in here for the long haul. Untapping one land under Winter Orb. Tim with another mana source. Uptick onto Fairy. And yeah, the game is going to slow down for as long as that Winter Orb is in play. And this Karn doing a great job. With the game fairly under control, Andrew rightfully can start looking at the sideboard and beginning to add pressure to the game. It's a little tough, though, without very much mana to actually cast that Batter Skull or have the 1 mana guy chip away at Planeswalkers. Notably, don't have the Vault combo in the sideboard, or this game probably would have been over very, very quick. Many turns ago. But we're deep in the tank for Andrew. Just figuring out what our best sequence is. It looks like we want to keep chipping away at Teferi. Oh. 2 mana balance. Tim, stuck with a full grip of cards, is going to get rid of a few cards. It's getting rid of almost all their lands. And yeah, this is just continuing to set Tim back. I would like to see Andrew beginning to turn the pressure onto Tim. Otherwise, this game still is up in the air. Without any follow-up, Tim can just eventually draw out of this lock and be able to get there. But it looks like we are going to downtick and grab the Hex Parasite. Going to kind of force the action onto Tim. But we have a mental misstep. And so it's all a wash. But Karn here has already dealt with 2 mana rocks from Tim. It's already added a Winter Orb to the battlefield and casted a Hex Parasite. So Karn's already represented a substantial advantage throughout most of this game. We had the Sterling Grove go fetch a Solemnity. Solemnity not allowing players to gain counters of any kind. So when comboed with Phyrexian Unlife, uh, if you would be dealt damage, you gain poison counters instead, but you can't gain poison counters, and so you can't be dealt lethal damage. We'll still need some other way to win the game, though. As for right now, Time Twister can just be played ad infinitum. From Tim. So again, need to eventually start putting pressure. It looks like Tim's ready to play a spell. 3 mana, what is it? We have Champion of Wits. Draw 2, discard 2. And start applying pressure to that Karn. Yeah, I think we had a little bit of confusion there. Solemnity doesn't let creatures gain counters, doesn't let players gain counters. Many things that don't get counters, but planeswalkers are unaffected by Solemnity. So the player's just confirming, making sure that Teferi can still uptick. We have the return of Hex Parasite. An uptick and a pass of the turn. Factor Fiction from Tim. This 5-colored ramp deck really needs a lot of mana to get off the ground, and it plays a lot of expensive card draw spells, which combo very well with the large amount of mana that Tim gets, but under a Winter Moon, under a Karn, it's just getting stifled rather effectively by this Selesnya Prison deck by Andrew. Again, we have the combo in hand. Phyrexian Unlife with the Solemnity out. Though with Tim not really applying much pressure, there's no need to do this anytime soon. And as we see, both players are back at 20 life. Hex Parasite going to remove 3 counters from Teferi, get +3/+0, end up dealing 7 damage. Andrew paying 2 life to do so. Next card, Mox Pearl, which is going to go rather well with the Armageddons we have in hand. We can save our land drop this turn. Next turn, untap 1 land, go 4 mana, Armageddon, and just continue to deny and control this 5-color ramp deck. As we chip away 1 point of life at a time. We're discarding fact or fiction to hand size. Sideboard grabbing a batter skull. Andrew just really going for the throat now. And Tim, now seeing a sizable clock, is gonna scoop it up